Welcome back to the Seraphine podcast. I am Seraphine Arocha, and I am with my partner in crime, Chelsea Atia.
Hello.
Hello. Boy, oh boy, did we get ourselves into a Christmas holiday overload. I was so excited to see all of these movies.
Me too.
And then I realized, there's a lot of bad ones.
There are, but there's also a lot of good ones coming out.
There really are.
Yeah.
And today we are talking about 3 what I would call not very traditional Christmas movies.
Right.
So the first one we're going to talk about is called An Unexpected Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
This is with Bethany Joy Lenz. Bethany Joy Lenz is of One Tree Hill fame.
Mm-hmm.
She is also someone who is a big Hallmark person.
She is. She's kind of taking the same path as Candace.
Yeah.
Candace Cameron Bure.
Yes.
But that's kind of why we chose this movie, because we both love One Tree Hill, and you love Bethany Joy Lenz. So
yes, she's great. She's a singer. She is somebody who she actually has her own podcast.
Yeah.
She does it with Sophia Bush. She also does it with Hillary Burton, and it's literally called Drama Queens. Shout out to them, where they actually review all the past One Tree Hill episodes.
I love that. That's cool.
It's so cool. And they talk about their experiences from what they remember, because they were pretty young. But they also talk about how times have changed and how their friendship had to kind of evolve, because back in the day, they were kind of pitted against each other. They weren't treated very well sometimes.
Yeah, there's a lot of drama about that.
Definitely. But she's really come out as a strong person and a personality.
She's very wholesome too.
She is.
Hence the Hallmark.
Totally.
The Hallmark movie.
Her brand is great, but I do love that she is an opinionated person. On the podcast, she really comes off as a strong woman. And, this was an interesting Hallmark film, because the synopsis is of 2 people who are broken up, and they somehow coincidentally run into, I know, right? They run into each other at the airport, just as I guess Tyler Hines, who plays the character of Jamie, her ex-boyfriend, his family comes in.
Yeah.
And it was he
didn't want to tell them that they were broken up.
Yeah, and they really didn't set up too much the catalyst of why, because that's a pretty ballsy thing to do with an ex. I was like, okay,
was not telling your parents?
Not telling your parents, and assuming that, Emily, Bethany Joy Lenz's character, would be like, okay, I'm down to pretend this.
Yeah. It's a little awkward, but I guess for the 10-minute, maybe even 5-minute conversation of explaining right there, we're actually not together anymore. They decided to make it a week-long, drawn-out act of pretending like they're still together, and then rip the Band-Aid off later, I guess.
It was definitely set up pretty quickly for me.
It was.
And it wasn't really established you never really understood the chemistry. I understood why they broke up. Her character is supposed to be this very independent, moving, shaking person who's going up the ladder, most of the Hallmark and Lifetime
that intimidated
movies.
him.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. And this intimidates him. And this was a little bit of a role reversal, I think, for Lifetime and Hallmark films, because usually the guys are so put together, but they really made it out like he kind of felt like a loser in the relationship, and that a little emasculated.
Exactly. Yeah. I think he obviously was very insecure and felt like he probably felt like he was holding her back a little bit, and her success, while he was probably happy for her, was a reminder of how far he has to go. And I think it's a very modern and a good way to think about it, because women now are bigger and better as they ever have been in the workforce, and given more opportunities. So it's cool to see that role reversal instead of the traditional male that's successful and the woman that's a homemaker. So I
did enjoy the twist on it, and I give Hallmark and Lifetime, which usually celebrate more traditional boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife roles.
Correct.
It's nice to see them play on this as a storyline.
Yeah.
I felt like the characters that were kind of supporting them, there really wasn't that solid of other characters aside from his
No.
parents.
I agree with you. It was just them two. They were the
Yeah.
stars. Yeah.
And their chemistry was okay.
Yeah.
I thought that there was some things that I had hoped for. I had hoped that Bethany Joy Lenz would sing. She's got
She did at the end.
a little.
Yeah.
But she's got such an incredible voice.
Yeah.
That it's just a shame if you're going to do it at all. I just think it should have been.
Did you see the end of the credits though?
No, I
The
didn't.
end of the credits, they left a little nugget of her singing one of her songs.
Oh, I should have.
I think it's called like Snow.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's something like that. But yes, it was like one of her songs. So I agree with you. But they did leave that little nugget at the end.
Yeah, she's got a special voice.
She's so talented.
She really is. And she's another person who, I listen to the podcast to listen to see if she'll have more projects coming up. She does do a lot of stuff that's on stage now.
Interesting.
But yeah, she's a curious cat, and I definitely want to see more. She's single right now, and on the podcast with Sophia and Hillary, they were asking her about like what her perfect guy would be, and she was making a joke about like a cowboy type, and it was cute because I
could see her with a cowboy
Totally.
type from Montana.
Totally. She's definitely got a cool vibe. The movie really to me was her show. I think
I think so too.
Tyler Hines was, he was fine, but she was definitely the shining star of the actual movie. I have to say all of the things that go with like the build up, the storyline it's not very important. I mean, she was putting together a PR campaign for a town. She was supposed to have, I think it was Jackie Joyner Kersey, the runner.
Yes.
She bails out, and then the mayor. He helps her get the mayor. Then he, kind of finds his motivation again, and feeling like his self-worth. It was okay. I'm glad I watched it for just watching a different holiday film.
Yeah.
And on a scale of like 1 to 10, I would give it like a solid 6.
I would agree with you.
Yeah.
It's like a fun, just chill kind of movie, no thinking. Just if you love One Tree Hill, if you love Bethany Joy Lenz, give her a little love and
it's a sweet
support
film.
her a little bit.
It's definitely not a drinking film. I mean,
No.
the story is very untraditional.
It is.
I mean, there's some moments in there, but it's not exactly like a funny, like you're not going to laugh your ass off drunk on this because the acting isn't bad, or it's not a corny story.
Yeah.
So it's more of like it's an afternoon in a blanket with the animals snuggled up around you. And if you're a Bethany Joy Lenz fan,
I would agree with you.
So the next movie that was a little untraditional that we watched was called 8-Bit Christmas.
Yes.
This one was a weird one for me because I'll be honest with you, I was super excited about it because I had mentioned to you that one of my most favorite movies is A Christmas Story.
Mm-hmm.
And this movie is set in the 1980s via like a reminiscing of Neil Patrick Harris while he's talking to his child.
Mm-hmm.
And he describes his love of the Nintendo gaming system. Mm-hmm. And what I did like was there were so many nostalgic like nods to my childhood.
Light bright.
Totally. And the Cabbage Patch craze.
Yeah, exactly. You said you wanted a Cabbage Patch. I thought of you about that.
And they literally were all sold out. And the ones that were left over, ones you didn't want.
Yeah.
Nintendo was definitely the hot thing. So all of that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I did feel like there was some storylines in it that they were good. I love the children. I love the Winslow Fegley. He was like supposed to be the young Neil Patrick Harris.
Yeah. He was cute.
He was adorable. I liked the supporting cast of kids. There's this little kid called Jacob Laval who was like kind of the nerdy, like weird kid who was like eating erasers and stuff.
But he ends up being like the one that teaches him the most.
Yes.
The lesson at the end. I personally really, really, really liked this movie.
It was so sweet.
I thought it was such a different take on a Christmas movie. I thought it was there was like there was an overall theme. There
Yeah.
was a message. There was something like you can take away from it, you know. It was the guy that was selling the toys in the black market.
Yes, David Cross. I love
Yes.
him. He was the dealer.
Yeah.
He's funny because he used to be on let's see, what is that show? It was with the Jason Bateman, Arrested Development.
Okay,
So he was on Arrested
yes.
Development. He's a really funny comedian.
He is funny.
And I loved him in this.
Yeah, and he teaches the little boy like the best lesson. It's not about the gifts. It's about, you know, the Christmases don't last forever. It's about making the memories with your family. That's what Christmas is really about. So I think it kind of switched his perspective a little bit. And we learned, we're not going to give it away, but the whole story is about basically him trying to get this Nintendo. He wants this Nintendo so bad. He tries everything to get it, tries to talk his parents into buying it for him. But I kind of agree with his parents. I'm not a video game person at all.
Yeah.
And I don't want my children to play video games. I think his dad is right. He says it like sucks your brain.
Yeah.
It really does. You get engulfed into these games and they're really violent.
Yeah.
I totally agree with them. I would probably be the same way with my kids.
Totally.
I know I would actually. I hate video games. My husband doesn't play them.
Yeah,
Thank
we
God
don't
he
play
doesn't
them.
like them.
And again, I understand if it's something that's like a little bit on the side, but when it's literally how they're describing it is,
I feel like
this was life for these children.
I feel like there's no in between with video games.
No.
You either love them, you're obsessed with them, they're your life, you play them all day, every day, or you don't want anything to do with them. I don't feel like there's a middle ground.
I think the one part of this film that was, I wish they would have explored just a little bit more. We have two amazing actors. Steve Zahn plays the father, and June Diane, I think it's Raphael, who is on another one of my favorite shows with Jane Fonda. It's the her and Lily Tomlin. I'm going to totally forget now. Frankie and Johnny. She plays the daughter of Jane Fonda on that show. And it was interesting because these are two really strong actors. I wanted a little bit more of some moments with them, with Winslow, the kid, because, you know, or the adult, or the young Jake Doyle, which is Patrick Harris's, Neil Patrick Harris's character. I wanted more moments of mom and dad with their son that were a little bit more feel good, less sarcastic. There was really funny moments, but the way this movie goes, and again, I don't want to spoil the ending, is it brings you to a place that you really think about your own family, and you really think about how precious time is with them. And again, I think these movies, the one thing I'm seeing in the commonality of making these Christmas films is I think they rush to get them made, you know?
Yes. Yeah.
And so then what ends up missing are these moments that when you take time writing a script, when you are not recording on like a fast timeline, then you have a little bit more meaningful moments. There's more time taken to establish like the characters and their relationships. And with this, how it ends moved me, but I know it could have had me like in tears and like calling my parents and, you know, just being like, Merry Christmas to all. And there was just enough of like the Nintendo feeling still on me that I was like, okay, but he still really wanted the Nintendo, right? But you know how it is.
I totally get that, but I actually did cry at the end.
I love it.
And I feel like what they were trying to establish with his relationship with his parents, specifically his dad, I related to so much because I have an older brother.
Yeah.
And my parents were so different with him than they are with me, especially my dad. I'm the baby, I'm the girl, and the dad in this movie really babied the girl. She got the Cabbage Patch doll. She kind of like, he really made sure she was taken care of.
Yeah.
And then the boy kind of just like, he wasn't treated the same way. He was almost like toughen up, you know, you got bigger things to, you know, think about and do and stuff. So he was held to a different way.
Yeah.
So they were establishing that. But I felt like at the end, with him working so hard to get his sister the Cabbage Patch doll, and he was so happy to, like, when she opened that on Christmas morning, and she wanted a very specific one and ended up not being that one, but she was still happy. Yeah. His dad saw that, and so little did what's his name, Tyler?
Yeah.
Little did Tyler know that his dad was making him something amazing.
Yeah.
And then that was kind of like how it ended.
It really did have some beautiful moments.
Yeah.
And I'm actually glad you brought that moment up again, because I kind of forgot about the sister opening up the Cabbage Patch doll.
Yeah.
And really presenting that feeling and storyline and thing that we all need to hold true to our hearts is like Christmas is about, giving to others and,
yes.
and showing love for your family. And it's not about the gifts, it's about the family. It's about celebrating, what is within your family dynamic or your friendship dynamic, and celebrating all that is the Christmas spirit. And I did. I really loved this movie. I think this one would definitely be like an 8+ for me.
I would agree with you. I would watch this one again.
I would too. And I'd love to watch it with kids to see what they thought of it.
Yeah.
The next one we're going to talk about was, to me, a pleasant surprise.
I loved it. Kyle Richards, I'm so proud of her.
I am too.
She really she started as a child actress, and then she had had her children, still was in Hollywood, and now she's having a moment again.
She is. We watched The Housewives of the North Pole.
Yeah. I love this concept.
So good. This one was actually on the Peacock Network.
Yeah.
I will tell you, I watched the first 10 minutes and I felt a little bit like I wasn't quite grabbed right away by it. Mm-hmm. And then I decided, I was like, you know what? Clear the slate. I made myself literally some hot cocoa. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, get into the Christmas spirit here. I know you've been watching a lot of Christmas films that are not like doing it for you, but let's just really go. This is one of the last ones I'm assigned to watch, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So as it goes in, it starts, you have Kyle Richards, and her character's name, I believe, is Trish.
Yes.
It's so interesting to see her in a acting role, because she's so at ease at it. I mean, she immediately went right into it. I didn't feel like
she was trying too
hard. Not at all. And Betsy Brandt, who plays her best friend, they just had really great chemistry.
They did.
I believed their friendship.
Me too.
I love the fact that this storyline didn't make it to where it was these perfect lives. We have Trish or Kyle's family that is definitely financially having a little bit of hardship.
Yeah.
We have Betsy, who is alone. She just got divorced.
And her husband's already remarried after a year.
Which would be just so tough.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine. And then we have their sweet children, played by Kyle Selig, I think, or Selig, and Jernest Corchado.
Oh.
These two were so sweet.
They were so sweet. I kind of had a feeling at the beginning when they were really little and they were like, I will hate you forever or something like that. I was like, oh, no way.
No.
They're totally gonna end up being together someday. So,
and I loved the concept of childhood friendship blossoming into a relationship, because I think everybody can kind of relate to someone from their past. And I think we've all had that crush or whatever. But this was again, a unique spin on Christmas, because I thought it was, by the title of The Real Housewives of the North Pole, I thought it was going to be like kind of salacious and gimmicky. They really only have a sweet little nod to a few of the Real Housewives.
Yeah, they made some cameos.
Yeah, which was cute.
It was I liked seeing that. It was like 2 seconds worth, so it was so good.
But they didn't make it to where it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
We have two friends who are going through some hard times, and just like any friendship that goes through hard times and during the Christmas holidays, we get sensitive, and sometimes we lose sight of the people we care about and that they're going through something too.
Yeah.
And then we have this beautiful little underlying romance between their two children
that they had no idea about.
Yes. And
Well, they didn't even know until they started. I think, they hadn't seen each other for a little bit, and it was reignited there.
It was so special.
It was.
What are some of the highlights for you in this? Like, what did you really like?
Well, I loved the teen romance. I just loved watching Kyle in her element.
Yep.
And seeing
I loved her tantrums.
Yeah,
She's
it was
so funny.
cute. It was interesting because Kyle's a mom of girls, and she has a daughter in this movie, but her daughter actually has a better relationship with her friend, and she gets a little jealous about that. So it was interesting. I could see her in real life being that way, but I can't see her daughter's not being super close to her. So that was like a weird juxtaposition kind of thing. But I don't know. I loved their it was cute, their little back and forth. Like Kyle or Trish would be like outside of the store, like dancing, getting ever. She was like die hard for this. It was cute. The Van Gogh snowman.
I love that.
That was
I thought
cool.
it was so clever.
It was clever.
And it totally went along with Betsy Brandt's character of like, her having this cool. I loved how they set up her art gallery.
Yeah, me too.
It was really cool.
And the man, the male interest is so handsome.
Oh, I know. He's a babe and a half.
I was like, this is an amazing pairing.
Damon Dayoub.
Yeah, he was a good addition to this.
He was
one.
really good. I think the storyline that was a little like, it was okay, but it was like I just felt like I needed a little bit more was between, it was American. It's like American Life magazine.
Yes.
It's her name's Taytona
Jackson. That was a weird.
And Alec, the boss, who's like
they had to have a villain though.
They did, and they did. It was okay. I mean, it just needed to be a little bit more villainy.
Yeah.
I really didn't feel like it was kind of like
a side story that was kind of intervening in this, but they were basically he was the editor or the writer or whoever came up with this idea. She knew about these two women who were like known in this city, and now they're fighting and they're competing against each other in this contest, and he didn't really love the idea at first, but then he knew who they were, and like it started to get more.
Well, it was this whole concept of let's not make this another boring, like everything's wonderful on Christmas. Let's have salacious gossip.
Yeah.
Let's try
Brings the drama.
Yeah, and on one hand, I could have gotten my head around it if I felt like there was a catalyst to be drama. The drama really was within their friendship and the problems that was going on with them separately.
Absolutely.
The idea of them, ripping each other's heads off for like their Christmas competition for decorating their houses. It just didn't make sense to me.
I agree.
It made more sense that it was really about the fact that they're both under a lot of stress. How did you feel about the ending?
I liked it.
Yeah.
Out of the three, this was the most traditional Christmas movie, like Lifetime-y, Hallmark-y type, but it was a cool modern twist and spin.
I think for those of you, the unexpected Christmas, for those of you who might be going through a breakup, or if you're considering getting back with your ex, that one might be a fun one to watch.
Yeah.
Because it is literally about two people who break up and then them spending time together and realizing maybe they shouldn't break up under the guise of still being together to keep the family unit together.
Yeah.
It was good, but it was, you got to be in the mood for it. Like I said, it's got to be something that tickles your holiday emotional needs. I really didn't need this one that much, but I do love me Bethany Joy.
Yes.
I think 8-Bit really spoke to my inner child.
Yeah.
I loved it so much. I thought it was
super
fun
nostalgic.
and cute.
Christmas is nostalgic in general, so I thought that was cool.
And I just wanted to hug my family afterwards.
Yeah, exactly.
And the Real Housewives of the North Pole, if you're a fan of the Real Wives of Beverly Hills or Kyle Richards. 100% watch it.
Yeah.
It's a fun one. I think it's definitely a one that you and the girlfriends can watch and have a
for
laugh
sure.
because Kyle is hilarious.
You could probably have a drinking game to this one.
Totally.
There's
Totally.
some-
So I guess as we wrap up our holiday movies,
Yeah.
what are ones that you just will forever, every holiday season, you will put them on?
The Holiday, the Santa Claus 1 and 2, Home Alone 1 and 2. I love the Family Stone. We talked about that. But those are some of my classics that every year.
What is it about those movies in particular?
I don't think that they're cheesy. I think they're classics. I think that they have a strong message. They're entertaining, heartwarming. All of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you?
I would say The Christmas Story. I think that movie really conveys family relationships, dynamics, and just that feeling of we all want something. And sometimes we don't know if we're going to get it. We hope we can get it. And sometimes when we do get it, we realize it wasn't that great to begin with. And that's the great thing about this, the Christmas Story, is it really kind of touches on all of those things. I would definitely say The Grinch Who Stole Christmas. The movie
Love that too.
Makes me cry every time, especially the line of, and then the Grinch's heart grew.
Yes.
It just, it really is something to where I go back to it, especially on a reflective way of what I'm grateful for in my own life, and not to let the sadness or the grumpiness turn me into bah humbug. And then I would say I actually, oddly enough, like this movie called Krampus. It's a very non-traditional movie. I was kind of hoping when I watched A Silent Night with Keira Knightley, which P.S. I will tell you is one of the worst movies I have ever watched. Sorry, Keira Knightley. It was so triggering and so sad to me. Krampus is in that genre of the anti-Christmas movie, but the movie is really about never taking for granted what you have, and that truly your family is everything, and that no matter what, to keep the spirit alive within your heart. And I love it, but it is dark, but it has a positive kind of twisty ending. We are going to be wrapping up the Seraphiend podcast next week. We're going to give this podcast a facelift, a new year, a new
makeover.
Us. It's going to be a total makeover. But we are going to do a little end review where Chels and I are going to talk about just what this podcast life has been like, and how we're going to make some changes to it. And then also, there's a reason why I've got a big green drink here as I sip from it. I am all about trying some new stuff. I'm actually going to go plant-based for the month of January. I have to be honest, I probably will need a little bit of protein here and there, but we're going to be talking about that in the next reboot of Seraphine podcast in 2022. But until then, thank you so much for listening, watching, and just being with us over it's almost been a year and a half that we've been doing this. It has been a year and a half, It has been. We thank you so much. And keep listening, keep watching. We're so excited to show you what we've got planned. And Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
And thank you, Chelsea.
Thank you.
And thank you, Erin. And thank you, Giovanna, for making this happen this year and the year before that. It's been so great. I love you all. Merry Christmas. And we'll see you right before the year ends. Bye-bye.